When I was 6, that's when I knew that I wanted to start a business.
You said 6?
Yeah, 6. I remember talking to my mom about it. All in all, I had made $500 in the last 2 years of work.
But you knew that there was more, of course. You knew that
I knew there was more, and I knew there was more coming, and I was perfectly happy with my $500. I was planning on working 5 years and not making a penny.
Wow.
So I was happy.
At just 16, Joey Seeman is disrupting the business world with Nova Echo AI. His company can reach over 100,000 prospects an hour and manage inbound calls too. Today, we'll see how Joey proves that age is no barrier to starting a successful company.
My name is Peter, and I've developed several brands to millions of followers online using social media. So of course, when I met Joey, I knew that I wanted to know more, not only about his company, but also about himself. So how are you, Joey?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Everybody, when they want to start a company, they pretty much think about how much they're going to make, about their goals and monetary goals. And instead of that, I really believe that people should think first about a problem that they can solve with their idea. It's going to be way easier to grow your company because you're already addressing something that people need. In your case, with Nova Echo AI, mainly, not necessarily just AI as a solution for something, but what was the problem that you guys identified and that made you guys think about creating or working on something like this?
Great question. So we realized that a lot of business owners were struggling because they had to manage and motivate and train and hire sales and customer service reps, which generally don't even want to be at work because it's a very, very draining job. I did cold calling for a while, and when you're on calls every single hour of every single day, it gets very draining. You get no. And those people usually don't last very long. There's a very high churn rate. Customer service, pretty similar. You're getting complaint after complaint. People are hanging up on you. They're mad at you. They're screaming at you. And these business owners have to motivate all these people that are just getting constant negativity, and they have to keep them motivated to actually work.
Yeah.
That's not an easy job.
Of course.
Especially when it costs $100,000 to hire and train somebody.
Wow.
So what we did is we realized that the solution would be to automate that. Now, how are you going to automate sales and customer service when you need a human-to-human interaction where you can have a real conversation? AI. That wasn't possible a couple of years ago, but now it is. So we have an AI that sounds just like a human. People cannot tell the difference now. And It will make sales calls and take customer service calls over the phone for businesses. You can choose from one of our other 125 different voices, and you can make it sound like there's multiple different people in the company, and really it's all just AI. But typically for medium and high tier products, we have humans do the closing. And then for low tier, the AI can close and the AI can do setting for anything. And back to what you were saying before about companies focusing so much on the monetary instead of the problem. We realized that this was a gigantic problem, $1 trillion problem, because there's so much money being spent on sales and customer service every year. And how much money you make is how big the problem is that you solve, multiplied by how many people you solve it for. And there's a huge market. And it's a very, very big problem.
How they're doing it right now? They're just hiring people, training them, and they make the calls? That's it?
Yeah, so there's two different ways that we've seen people do it. One is they bring people in-house, they train them, they hire them, and that is very, very costly. Only the very big companies do this because you have to pay for, to house them all. They have to be there during the day. You have to pay for food. You have to pay to have the building, the electricity. You have to pay for all the computers. It's very, very expensive. The second way is to pay for a call center that's already built. They already do that. They staff, they do all that. And then you just pay for a certain number of calls. That works, except those call centers are often either really expensive or in another country where those people, they don't do the best and they have very strong accents.
Yeah.
So with the AI, you can have something that is actually less expensive than the people in third world countries, but it sounds just like an American or just like an Australian or just like any place that you're calling in.
Yeah. And the risk of making mistakes is pretty much none, right? It's going to be pretty much the expert, right? At whatever they're selling.
Exactly. So it's not going to ever not know an answer as long as you provide that answer to it before the call, because you can give it a huge knowledge base with all the information about your company.
How does it work? Like you feed it with something specific, like a question, like a form or something like that as a company. How does it work?
Yeah. So as a company, you would give it a script. So this is a general thing that it has to follow. That way it can make the calls and actually have some kind of form, right? And then the second thing is a knowledge base. So you give it a list of questions and answers or just paragraphs about your company. That way, if somebody asks a question, it can use that information to reply in an intelligent way.
Wow, incredible. And you're saying that it's even cheaper than hiring like people from third world countries, which is like the cheapest way of doing it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of that is because when you're paying people per hour, the average person in a call center is on the phone for 2.7 hours out of an 8-hour paid workday. That's ridiculous.
Wow.
So with the AI, you're not paying for the 5.3 hours where they're doing nothing. They're using the bathroom, they're dialing, they're texting their friend or whatever.
Yeah.
You're not paying for that because you only pay per minute of talk time.
So you can utilize all the time that it's working, right? Like doing calls.
Exactly. You don't pay when it's not working.
Incredible. So before we keep talking about your company, I want to also talk about you. How is a 16-year-old doing something like this? Like, tell me about your story. How did this start?
So at the very beginning, I remember I was 14. Actually, let me even go before then.
Yeah.
When I was 6, that's when I knew that I wanted to start a business. I wanted to be rich.
You said 6?
Yeah, 6 years old.
You remember when you were 6?
Yeah.
And what you were thinking, okay.
Yeah. I remember talking to my mom about it. And she was saying, you're going to be successful. You're going to be rich. She knew it. And I knew it. Then I remember, I didn't know what the hell business even was.
Yeah.
I just knew that I was going to do it. I knew I was going to work for myself because she would always tell me, you're so freedom oriented. You don't like authority, because I always stood up to my teachers. I didn't like when they told me stuff, and I never really listened to anything they said. I always did well in school with the classes, but I never really listened to my teachers because they would tell me things and I'd ask them why. And they'd be like, because the principal told me. And then I'd ask him why when I got sent there, because I did a lot. And he'd be like, because we've been doing that way for 20 years. And at 6,
it didn't make sense for you.
At 6, I was like, no, that makes no sense. That makes no sense. So I didn't like that.
Wow.
And my mom saw that and she was like, well, I have a job and it's still like that. School and jobs are pretty similar. That's why school is made. It's made to prepare you for a job. That's literally why it was made. So
a lot of people's brains are like,
yeah,
doing things right now with that concept, but it's true.
She said, you got to work for yourself. I took that in. When I was 12, I started my first entrepreneurial venture. It was just a YouTube channel for a video game that I was playing at the time, but I was grinding. And a lot of people had little YouTube channels, but mine was doing pretty well. I got over 1,000 subscribers, so I could monetize it and earn some money.
Nice.
And I got about 250,000 views. It was all long form. Short form wasn't that big at the time, at least on YouTube. I don't even think it existed. And it was going really well. I enjoyed it. I became a celebrity in the game and everyone knew my name, my username. So it was awesome. And I learned a lot about that. I probably made $15, but I learned a ton about how to market, how to talk to a camera, how to provide value, and how people will provide value back if you can do that for them.
For sure.
And I was also playing and working with much older kids. At that time, it was 16, 17, 18. But I also became more mature just by hanging out with those people all day.
With older people.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like they were mature, but they were more mature than a 12-year-old.
I understand completely. I was exactly the same when I was that age too.
Right. Yeah, it helps for sure. And I always enjoyed hanging out with the older kids too.
Of course, yeah.
When I was 14, that's when I started my first real business. And how that happened was, I remember I moved to Florida because I was born and raised in New York City, in Manhattan. So I moved to Florida in the summer when I was 14. And I was in the shower one day and I was just thinking, I was like, nobody is going to make me rich and I need to get rich. And I had been thinking for years before that, from 6 to 14, that, one day I'll just get rich because I know it's going to happen. A lot of people think like that.
Yeah, true.
But then I was in the shower and I was like, I don't know. I just had like a eureka moment. I was like, wait, no one is going to give me money. No one's going to save me. I need to go make money. And I'm 14 already. It sounds stupid, but that's what I thought.
Yeah, for sure.
So I got out of the shower and I started researching online. How do you make money online? I just looked it up on Google because at that time, all these gurus on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, it wasn't as prominent. They weren't as big. It wasn't the thing that everyone was doing.
Yeah.
And so like the Tate wasn't very big yet. He had a following. Iman wasn't very big yet. There's some other ones. I don't watch them so much, but I didn't even know about any of them at that time. So I just looked up, how do you make money? And through SEO, I guess, the first thing that popped up was a course on copywriting.
Okay.
And I didn't know what copywriting was, but I looked into it and it was selling with your words. And I always did very well in writing in school.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, cool. Let's try it. So it was $50 a month. That was very, very expensive for me at the time. And my family doesn't have much money, so it was expensive for my mom too. But I went up to her and I said, hey, this is going to teach me a lot. I want to learn. I want to take care of my own education. Can you help me with this? And she said, as long as you're really going to focus on it and you're going to learn from it, absolutely. So she bought it. And first month, grind. I took almost 80 pages of notes, which was not even the right way to do it, but I was just nonstop watching these courses.
Why is not the right way to do it? What do you consider the best way to learn right now?
So since then, what I realized is instead of when you hear something, just writing down on a piece of paper, what that does is it causes the information to go into your mind and then onto the paper, and it just leaves your mind. You forget it almost immediately because once it's there, it's like, okay, I don't have to remember this anymore. Instead, what I do now is I'll take in a lot of information. I won't write a single thing down for the entire day. And then at night or the next morning, I'll take notes on what I remember. That's the most important because first of all, that allows your brain to get rid of the useless information because it will forget that your brain's job is to forget as much information as possible it doesn't need.
Exactly.
And the important information is going to stay there. So not only will I be able to write it down so I can look back at it, and that information will only be the crucial parts, but I'll also remember it for a lot longer because I took that time instead of just writing down. So after that, I started doing just cold email outreach just manually because I didn't know about automations yet. And it was very slow, but I learned a ton through that. And I was reaching out to do copywriting for landing pages and email templates, stuff like that. That led me into affiliate marketing for that same course. So that was doing all right, but then I saw this opportunity to affiliate market for that course. And I was like, okay, this is probably the next thing that I want to do. I don't want to quit this because I'm not a person that likes to quit things, but I was like, is it quitting if I just move on to the next thing that's going to help me grow? I was like, let's just do it. I decided to make the jump. So I did it, and it was hard because I just learned so much about copywriting. Now I'm just leaving it all behind. But
it felt like you were wasting that knowledge, or
no, because I knew I would still put it to use. I didn't feel like I was wasting it. It just felt like, damn.
Like it wasn't it yet. It was too small for you.
Yeah, it was 3 months of just nonstop. But it wasn't it. So I start the affiliate marketing. I start out first month, 200 views, 300 views, 400 views. Best videos were like 900 views.
On YouTube?
I posted on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter.
Okay.
And I was doing 3 videos per day, 3 short form per day. I was doing Twitter tweets, about 5 a day, I'm pretty sure. I was doing 3 stories on Instagram a day and YouTube posts every day. I did that. Second month, okay, now I'm getting some traction. I get 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 views. And I have maybe 600 followers. Third month, I start getting 10,000, 20,000, 100,000, 500,000, 3 million, 5 million. I start really getting views. I go up to 14,000 followers. I'm on track to now be doing hundreds of thousands of followers because you see how exponential that is. But then I'm in school one day in my weightlifting class, which I don't think I was even supposed to be in, but I was in there. And this kid that sits next to me when we line up, he was talking about how he lost his really expensive watch. It was like $6,000 at the time. I was like, what? How do you have that? Yeah. And I was like, okay, interesting. Who is this guy? Is he on the same thing that I'm doing? Like, is he ahead of me? What's going on here?
Yeah.
So I started talking to him. I walked back and forth with him when we're doing our warm up. And I said, what does your dad do? Because I assume his dad bought the watch. I'm still like, okay, cool. I can now connect the connection to this guy's dad who's very wealthy. And he's like, oh, my dad owns a cleaning company. I was like, got it. So I was like, oh, so he bought the watch for you. That's awesome. And he's like, no, I bought it. It's like, what? You're 16. I was 15 at the time. And I said, what do you do? He said, I run a marketing agency. And I didn't know really what that was until I learned that it's what I do, but I'm just doing it for other people now instead of affiliate marketing for myself. And so I started talking to him. I remember we're in the gym class and me and him were just talking about marketing strategies, SE, like all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's like a crowd forming around us of just kids that are like, what is going on here? What are they talking about? And they were super interested. I remember it was a small crowd, but I could see a lot of people listening. And I remember it was Nash on my right, which is now one of my very close friends at the time. Yeah, I like just met him. And then on the left was Jack, which is a guy I'm still friendly with. And they were just listening and trying to get some information. Anyway, I'm like, okay, this guy's name is Sergio, by the way. I'm like, Sergio knows what he's doing. I need to get in with Sergio. He has a marketing agency. This, I think, is that next step. And again, I was scared to leave the affiliate marketing because I'm like, I'm killing it. I'm killing it. I became like a prominent, like I was known again. But I remember back to when I left the copywriting and I made that jump and it changed my life. And so I'm going to make that jump again. And so I stopped that and I started providing as much free value to Sergio as I could. I fixed his website using my copywriting skills, although I hadn't practiced in a while. And I remember he said he needed some car videos. He mentioned to some other guy. So quickly I whipped up as many as possible and I sent them to him just for free, just because I wanted to help him. And then I started doing sales for him. And so he brought me to my very first networking event.
Okay.
And it was a small little event in the middle of nowhere in Fort Lauderdale with like 5 people or 10 people that were in random industries. And it completely changed my life. So we walk in there. I'm nervous. At this time, I don't go up to normal, like random people and talk to them. That's not what I do.
I know. I understand that feeling.
And I was a kid still, but I was like, I felt like a kid. I felt like a kid. And Sergio just starts talking to everybody. He's always, at least from when I've known him, he's always been very charismatic. So he just walks up, he shakes their hand, he talks about whatever. And I'm just watching him like, wow, I cannot do this right now because my heart is just nonstop beating. And that's awesome that he can do that. So I watch him and I follow him and I do the same thing. And I talk to these people. One of them, her name was Deborah. I got her contact. I actually ended following up with her and I can talk about that in a little bit, but we ended up closing a deal with her on the first networking event, which was awesome. But after that, I started going to as many as possible because I was like, whoa.
Like networking events?
Yeah. So I'd go on Eventbrite and just search up business networking event near me free.
Okay.
There's always a bunch of them, 3 a week. After school, I'd go.
In your city or just like?
Yeah, around. It was probably all of them were half hour away or so.
Okay.
Yeah, I just get a ride from my mom or my grandparents.
Cool.
And I started going with Sergio. So we went to 3 or 4 more and I just kept talking to people and I watched what he did and I copied him. And for some, we split up. So he would go here, I'd go here. And I would just be like, okay, what would Sergio say? How can I be charismatic like him? I would try to use the same inflection. I would try to talk the same way, move the same way. Cause naturally at that time I was like, hi, what's your name? No one wants to talk to that kid.
Of course. Were you working together at that point?
Yeah.
And you just like split to meet more people?
Exactly. So I was doing sales for him.
Interesting.
And then I remember one time I was on my way to the networking event that we were supposed to meet at. And he calls me up and he's like, I can't go. And I'm not going to turn around.
Of course.
But I just got fucking jolt.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, I have to do this by myself now. So I walk in there. At first, I just kind of walk around because I don't really want to talk to anybody. But I was like, okay, let me push myself and do it. So I start talking to people.
But did you initiate that first conversation?
Yes.
Oh, so you weren't, nobody approached you?
No, because I just look like a random kid that's just lost or something. Until I
do you remember what you said?
Nice and simple. I just walked up to somebody. I shook their hand. I said, hey, how you doing?
Just like that.
Just to start it. Just start a conversation. And then I took it from there.
You were 15 still, right, at that point?
Yeah.
Okay, 15-year-olds. Okay, and then what happened?
So I keep talking to people. I end up, just getting some connections. Some people would ask my age. I would tell them, they get all impressed. That made me feel good because I always felt like that was a disadvantage. But when people started to appreciate that, it was like, okay, cool. Maybe this isn't such a disadvantage. Maybe it's a double-edged sword. Maybe there's some positives and negatives. And that felt good. So then I started going to a lot of them by myself. Like I said, I'd go to about 3 or 4 a week after school, as many as I possibly could. Every single time I found one, I would go.
Okay.
I would just collect business cards. I'd tell people about what I was doing, about what me and Sergio were doing, the marketing. And I learned how to sell. And that was not something easy to learn because it was hard. Every single time I went to the event, it would be hard because I'd go in there by myself and it was intimidating because there was a bunch of people here with a bunch of money who were 4 times my age. And I had to sell to them. But
well, that's what you won, actually.
Yes, it is. Now I realize that now. And I knew it then too. That's why I went.
Yeah, for sure.
And I knew it was nerve-wracking, but I still did it because I knew it was going to take to the next step. Anyways, fast forward. Then we start doing AI chatbots, me and Sergio, because a lot of people that we were working with wanted that integrated with their Facebook lead forms.
Interesting.
And I create an Instagram account for that. And that'll be important later, and I'll tell you why. So I create an Instagram account for that company. And at this point, I'd already closed my first sale with a marketing agency for $250, which blew my mind. I remember we were on the phone, me and Sergio, and we were just celebrating. We were going crazy. He was hyping me up. He had made money.
$200 a month?
No, $250 one time.
Oh my God.
And
No, but I remember that first time too, like not in my case, it was incredible too.
it felt so incredible. I ran out. I was like, Mom, I made $250. And I told my grandparents too, because I had worked for a year and a half for that. And it was worth every
So you're saying that you worked for years and something that wasn't generating anything.
Yeah. When I was 14 and I was in that shower and I bought that course and I started that copywriting, I said to myself, I'm going to work on this for as many years or decades as it takes before I get rich.
Well, most people start working on something and they want to make money quick. And once they don't make that money quick, they just pretty much stop doing anything. So you were doing that for months, years, and until something happened, right? So what was the thing that kept you, driven to actually keep pushing until something happened?
I mean, I was in a very fortunate situation since I literally didn't have to make a penny because I had everything provided for me, like food and shelter, all of my basic needs because I was so young. But I knew what I needed to do. I knew what my goals were. And I said, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make that happen. And a lot of people do fall into that trap. They want to find something and make money within a month.
Yeah.
A lot of money. So what they do is they find something, they work really hard for a month, they don't make anything. Okay, next thing.
Yeah.
But every time you restart, you're starting from the beginning.
Yeah, from zero.
And so you're never actually going to make money. But instead, if you just sit down and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I don't care what happens for years, regardless of how much money I make, then you'll end up making money.
100%.
That's what I did with the affiliate marketing. I sat down, I was like, I'm going to make videos nonstop for 6 months. Even if I don't get more than 200 views per video, I don't care. I'm making videos for 6 months, 3 a day. I did that. And after
on your page, right?
Yes. After 3 months, I started getting good views. And then I left. And that was a hard decision because I wanted to stay at that goal, but I left because of the new opportunity.
When was that the AI, the Echo AI, the Nova Echo AI idea presented to you, or how did you find that specific thing that you're doing right now?
Yeah. So I met one of my mentors, Mark, at the gym that Sergio took me to. The first day he took me there as a guest randomly. We work out, we walk into the sauna. There's just some old man in the back who's jacked and he's just sitting there. He looks cool.
What's an old man for you?
He's like 50.
Okay.
Not really an old man, but he looks really good. He's biohacker. He's very healthy. But anyway,
cool.
I walk in there and he's sitting down. Sergio's getting water or something. So I walk in, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Just like I do with the networking events. And that's the only reason I was able to say that to that guy. And he looks at me weird. I'm like, why is this guy looking at me like that? He looks at me weird. He's like, what's your name? And then Sergio walks in and Sergio, without even hearing me, he's like, hey, how you doing? He's the same thing because now we're used to it. So this guy looks at us. He's like, how old are you guys? Tell him I'm 15. He's 16. He's like, I study success and I love what you guys just did.
Wow.
What do your parents do? And he just starts talking to us. He's like, I've never seen somebody your age just come in and introduce themselves that naturally. That's amazing.
I understand that feeling.
Yeah.
The same feeling I had with you. Yeah. So
I appreciate that.
what happened with that guy?
So he starts talking to us and he seems like a very interesting, wise kind of guy. So I get his number and we keep talking. And then a couple months down the line, we go out for dinner. Just me and him. And we're talking. And then he mentions this brand new deal he's working on. No one's heard of this technology. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm like, okay, what is it? He says to me, it's an AI that sounds just like a human. And it can make outbound sales calls and takes inbound customer service calls for companies. And my mind was blown. I was like, holy shit. Wow. That's going to change the world.
Yeah, 100%. Even every time you say that, the line about what the technology does, I'm thinking, okay, I need that. Customer service is always a need. You always need customer service. So.
Exactly. Yeah. When I call a bank or something and I have to wait an hour,
no.
And then I talk to some
and pray that person is having a good day.
I know.
Yeah.
And they usually aren't, and that's why it's hard for business owners. But anyways, back to that. So I go for dinner with Mark. He tells me that. I was like, holy shit. And so I'm like, okay. And he's talking about how this deal's going to cost him 6 figures to get into, whatever.
Yeah.
Like at that time, that's not even in my, like spending 6 figures is not even something that I even knew I was capable of. And so I talked to him. And then after that, I was like, that's awesome for you. Because if you're excited about it, it's out of my league. That was my That was my thought process.
Yeah.
And because he was such a big guy. And so I leave. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm going to keep doing my text chatbots. Cool with your deal. Then on that Instagram account I made for those text chatbots, because we had already shut down that because it wasn't going very well. And we went back to the marketing.
Okay.
Which we probably shouldn't have done, but whatever. So
everything happens for a reason, Joey.
Everything happens for a reason. Yeah. So one day I randomly go back on that Instagram account. Why? I don't know. I'm supposed to be on my main. Yeah. But I go on that one. On that one, I followed all kinds of AI brands so that we get recommended.
Yeah.
So I go on that account and I scroll for, I don't know, 30 seconds and I see this ad. And it's this company that's selling this voice AI. I was like, holy shit, that's what he was talking about. Maybe I can get in here. So I click on the ad. It's this brand new company. They haven't even launched their product yet. And I reach out from their little support system, their email, and I text their founder, I email their founders and I say, hey, I want to do marketing for you guys, blah, 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 blah. No response. Ghosted me. I email their other email, so their support email. I want to do marketing. No response. I go into their Discord. I find the Discord of the founder and I personally message him, hey, I want to do marketing for you guys, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't respond for 2 days. He finally gets back to me after I follow up and he says, we don't need marketing. Later, I find out they're like expert marketer guys. But he said, do you know how to sell? I said, yeah, of course I know how to sell. He said, send me some call recordings. I said, oh, I don't have call recordings. I've been doing in-person sales.
Yeah.
And I was kind of just faking it until I make it, you know? And then he was like, okay, so he ghosted me again. But then I get a call from one of their guys and he says, hey, we have this new license program and we want you to be a part of it. Let's hop on a call.
Okay.
So I get on a call with them. I hop on a meeting. It's an hour and a half long call where I'm talking directly to these founders who are also very young, successful entrepreneurs. So I was like, this is awesome. Just talking to them. Because at that point, I didn't really have a network of successful people. And I talked to them. They sold me on a license for $5,000 to where I can resell their product. And this was super early on. I was one of the first people to get in here. And so...
And were you doing that kind of money with your company at that time to
hell no.
Pay that $5,000?
All in all, I had made $500 in the last 2 years of work.
But you knew that there was more, of course. You knew that
I knew there was more. And I knew there was more coming. And I was perfectly happy with my $500. I was actually amazed by it because I was planning on working 5 years and not making a penny.
Wow.
So I was happy. I remember I'm looking at my computer. I get off. I'm like, wow. I need this. I need it. I know this is the next step. I jumped from copywriting to the affiliate marketing, from the affiliate marketing to marketing agency. Every single step I took, it changed my life completely. I know this is the next one. And so I go to the right. I open my door. I walk into the living room. My mom's sitting on the couch. And I say, pause the show for a second. And I look at her and I say, I just got off a call. This technology is going to change the entire world. And I need to be a part of it. Now, don't get mad, but I need some money for it. I don't have that money. And she's like, how much? You know, because at this point she had paid $50 a month.
Yeah,
and that was already
not going to be $50.
Yeah, and that was already expensive, you know?
Yeah.
So I looked at her and I was like, just hold on, you know, take a second. Let me just say it and explain. It's $5,000. She looked at me like, what? Because she's a teacher and a single mother.
Okay.
So she doesn't have $5,000 to play with. But I talked to her for an hour, sold her,
yeah.
Yeah. And then she's like, okay, I don't have $5,000 to give you, but I'm going to order a 0 interest credit card. That'll be 0 interest for a year or 18 months. And we'll put it on that. And I gave her a huge hug. I said, let's fucking do it. And so she ordered the card. We put the $5,000 on it. First month, didn't make anything. They hadn't even really launched yet, so I couldn't. Second month, I could have. Second month, didn't really make anything. Third month, I made some money.
How were you promoting it?
So I started doing a YouTube channel just for that, similar to what I did with the other 2 businesses that I did. And I was just posting videos about how to use that software.
So now you were talking about this for 2 months without selling anything.
Yeah.
Okay, going back to the same idea. People think that it's fast.
Exactly.
People think that if you start making videos, if you start a YouTube channel, if you start a TikTok account, you're going to make it fast. And you were doing this for 2 months without making money. And also you were doing the other thing for years without making any significant money. it's not how fast you become rich, it's how much you can tolerate not being rich until something happens.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And so I kept posting nonstop for that company. And then I also was doing some marketing on the side with a client that Mark, that same mentor, referred me to.
Yeah.
And I ended up actually making over $5,000 just from her, but over the course of many months. So I didn't all make it before, so I couldn't pay my mom back yet. But not even close. And I was reinvesting that money back into this new company, right? And building things. So I created the brand Nova Echo. The brand name is because Nova is a bright new star.
Yeah, 100%.
And we're a bright new star top. And Echo is the spreading of sound. So we're a brand new way to spread sound, voice, AI.
I love
right?
it.
That's what I say now because it sounds cool. Here's the real story. Nova, I did pick Nova because it's a brand new star, and I love that concept. And I also love astrology.
All right.
Echo, when I used to play that video game and I had the channel and I was on the team and I played 16 hours a day nonstop.
Oh my God. Was it like a name or something?
It was called Echo VR. Yeah. So I wanted just Nova, but it was like a $4 million domain. So I said Nova Echo.
Yeah.
And now it's actually really cool, the name. And I didn't even realize it.
Perfect.
But yeah, so I did that.
It just sounds perfect for what it is, 100%.
Yeah. And funny enough, that logo was on my desk. I just have this, there was a sticker on my desk when I bought it with that logo. It wasn't exactly the same, but it was like the same kind of outline. And then I saw that logo and I was like, okay, let me redesign this because it's like the spreading of sound. It's like an echo. I love it. So it all just kind of turned out well. But anyways.
Everything that you talk about, every time you talk about the company, you say Nova Echo AI, right?
Yeah.
It sounds cooler if you say Nova Echo.
Nova Echo?
Yeah. But this is kind of like the Facebook, that dropped the from the Facebook?
Yeah.
I think it sounds way better when it's just like Nova Echo. I mean, AI, it's also a good thing to throw right now because everybody's talking about it. But yeah, it's like when it comes to the sound, I think it's great. So
Nova Echo it is. So yeah, so anyways, I'm posting 50 views on my long form. That same video now has probably 4 or 5K views and it's gotten me a lot of business. And anyways, I posted 70 long form videos by now on that channel.
You haven't stopped, right?
No, I still
so
don't.
Consistency.
Yeah. Consistently for the last 8-9 months.
What happens when you're not consistent?
Nothing. Literally nothing happens when you're not consistent. That's what happens. Nothing. You don't get anywhere.
I believe that one of the main struggles for people who want to build a business online is that it's not having consistency. And I understand, because I've also tried to start posting content on my personal accounts, and I've tried to start many times, but since what I do is more for people, I enjoy working with people, sometimes that kind of gets in the way.
The most important thing.
Yeah. And it's what most people don't do.
Exactly.
Most people start and then they quit when they don't see the results that they want.
Well, because it's also the hardest thing. And that's with everything in life. The hardest thing is always
it's like your ego, right?
Yeah.
Your ego gets in the way, you're not going to make, or you're not generating what you deserve.
And a big part of that is actually, and we'll go back to last discussion in a second, but the big part of that
for sure.
is Instagram, because you see these people that are making crazy money when 90% of that is fake.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's definitely some real people that are genuinely teaching amazing lessons and are really making money. And that's great. But a lot of people, they say they're talking, they talk about how they're making a lot of money. They're not, they're renting all their stuff and everything. And it makes you feel bad because you did not make $1 million a day within 3 days of starting dropshipping.
Of course.
And no one does.
No.
And if you say you do, that's BS. And I those numbers are exaggerated, but still.
I don't know anybody who just started something and became rich the next day or super quickly, Usually it takes a lot of time and struggles.
Yeah. And every time it does happen, you end up poor again. Because unless you go through those struggles.
It's like winning the lottery without having any knowledge about money or any financial knowledge. It's you're pretty much going to spend it all,
Yeah.
If you're not smart.
If you get something really good without going through something hard, it's going to end up bad. That's just how the universe works.
I love that. When was that moment that you thought that it could be something huge, or did you always think that it was going to be something
it wasn't
big?
think I always knew it was going to be something
You knew
huge.
it.
I knew it from the second I bought it, because $5,000, now I have a different perspective on money, but at that time, that was a lot of money, a lot of money. And I knew it was going to work. And I
Was
knew
it worth it?
yes, it was all worth it. Even if I failed, it would still have been worth it. But
Why?
because $5,000 is worth a lesson. $5,000 is nothing compared to what I could have learned from that. And I have failed in it, but then I got back up and I kept doing it and then I succeeded. And money goes like this and it goes back up.
Oh, so true. I actually had this conversation like recently with a friend about failing companies. Like a lot of people say, yeah, I had 7 companies that failed before I had a successful one. If you had 7 companies that failed until the one that succeeded, that means that those didn't fail. Those were the path to the actual company that was successful. Without those 7 companies, you wouldn't have what you have right now. It's the same with life. Without all the experiences that you have in your life, past experiences, today's experiences, or whatever, that is what's going to get you to your goals. So without that, you can't reach your goals. So I don't think any of that can be qualified as fail. It's just a journey.
I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that applies to everything.
Bro, everything.
Everything.
Relationships, everything.
Everything.
So true.
But yeah, so I started posting the content. The moment I knew, so I made my first $500 again with this tech by selling it. And at that time I was like, okay, boom, first one. Now we're going. And then I remember sitting in school. I was in my last class and I get a notification on my phone. It's a lot of money. And I just like came into my account. I'm like, yes, it's like my second sale. I'm like, yeah. And then I remember I text my grandparents and my mom. I'm like, I'm in school. I'm done listening with this class. Guess what just happened? Guess what just happened? And now I don't share how much I make with anybody, including people that are in my family, because it's
such a good lesson to learn.
Yeah, there's no reason to.
If you want to get smart clients, you can't sell to dumb money. You need to speak to smart people.
Yeah.
So being wise with your money and getting knowledge, that's how you become richer and richer, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, what you do, which is networking.
Yeah, which I think is one of the best investments you can ever make. And on that point, yeah, I mean, people that flaunt the most are usually people who just got their first little bit of money. And I was the same way because I did. But usually that lasts for a couple of years for people. I shut it down because I realized that whenever I talk about my achievements before they happen, generally, and depending on like a specific achievement before it happens, less likely it'll happen. I keep my mouth shut until things happen.
But you know what? In a way, showing off was the keys that started your dreams.
Oh yeah.
People who were showing their things made you think, okay, I want that. Like, I like that. I want that. But in your journey, you started to actually understanding what you wanted, which was, you know, building a company with people to help your family and all that you're doing right now. So in a way, I think those people showing off are like the triggers. But if you need to be really smart to understand that that is not the path, you need to find something else, you know, actually.
Showing off just by being yourself and having things, that is one thing. And if people think that's showing off, that's really just because they're envious. But if you're going and you're being arrogant and you have a big ego and you're being like, oh, look at me, that's different. And that's just
how you do it, right?
Yeah, like if you post a picture of a place that you went to that's super nice and people get mad at you for that, it's like, no, I went there because I was eating food. If you're envious of that, that's your problem. But if I'm like, you fucking brokies, you can't go to this place, that's different.
What's the difference between showing off and showing your life?
Because showing your life will motivate some people and help them, and it will make other people envious, and those people are going to fail anyways. But being arrogant, that can still motivate some people, but yeah, I mean, you're kind of just being I don't want to say too many bad words, but you're not being a nice person.
You can say whatever you want.
You're being a dickhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I made my first sale. I started getting sales in school. That month, I go crazy. Sale after sale after sale. I have like 1 million different products. I don't even know what I'm selling. I'm just selling and I'm delivering. I'm not scamming people. I'm delivering because that's also one of the most important things. And I follow the ideology that no matter what, I say, I can do this great. And then I find out how to do it great. And that's what happened with the website. That lady that paid me $5,000 that Mark referred me to. she asked me if I can build websites. I said, I can build you an amazing website. I never built a website, but that was not a lie because I knew I could do it. And I knew that I would learn how to do it and I would do it. And so I went on there and I built her site and she was very happy with it. I just wanted her to be happy. If she's happy with the site, I'm happy that I did good work. And she was. And she still is. We still talk. So
fake it till you make it. What's kind of like the thing, right?
yeah. And I apply that with everything. But there's two different ways to do it. One, you can fake it till you make it. And you could just say, oh, I'm so good at this. And then you can just do a bad job. And that's just lying.
Yes.
That's just straight up lying. Or you can say, not that I know how to do this, but that I will get it done. Say that and then figure out how to get it done.
Deliver is the difference, right?
That's the difference. It's a delivery. And if you deliver strong, then you can say whatever the hell you want. But if you don't, then you're just a fraud. That's 100%. A big difference.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I'm selling to other agencies who sign up and building their agents. I'm selling directly to businesses. I'm selling consulting packages. I'm signing people up through an affiliate program with a CRM that people like to use with the AI. I'm doing a million things.
Wow.
That month, I look at my account, I'm like, this is crazy. I'm making my teacher's salary in a month. Like, wow. I don't want to learn from them anymore. I didn't want to learn from them since I was 6 years old. But now
you have a reason, right?
I didn't have a reason then, but now I proved I don't have a reason because there's cold, hard evidence in my phone that I don't have a reason to learn from them.
Yeah, for sure.
Because what are they going to teach me? There's many things to learn besides how to make money. And that's not the most important thing to learn, in my opinion. But it is one of the most important things to learn.
I agree.
In our society. And they weren't very good at other things. The school really is just preparing you for a job, which the whole point is to make you money unless you genuinely care about it. But with a business, you can do both. So anyway, I was like, I need to get out of here. So I look at me and my friend Nash, we're always joking about getting out of here because there's so many kids in school that we don't want to be around because they don't follow what we want. Like they don't have the same goals as us. And that's nothing against them. I'm friends with I'm friendly with a lot of very nice people who I don't want to spend much time around because they don't have the goals I do. And I don't hate them for that. I just don't want to be around them for my personal reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. And
we were surrounded by kids like that in school. And again, they're just being kids and I have no problem with that. That's just not what I want to do.
You're the problem.
Yes, I'm the problem and I need to get out. That's exactly what it is. I'm the problem. And Nash was also a problem. And so we would always joke about that. And then I turned to him one day. I'm like, let's stop joking. Let's get the hell out of here. I'm done. I'm done with this.
What were you at this point?
I was still 15.
15? So
it was November of last year.
Okay.
Of 2023. And yeah, I'm just like, I'm done. These teachers are pissing me off. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They all think that they're so smart and they deserve all this authority, but really they've done nothing in their life. I have more experience than them and I'm like a third of their age. How is that possible?
Well, yeah.
And I look at the kids, I'm like, these kids are all very nice. A lot of them, some of them aren't. Most of them are very nice and they're great, but it's not the people I want to be around if I want to reach my goals. And so why am I here? Why am I here? Because the government says so. I don't give a fuck about the government, what they say, because there's loopholes. So I turned to Nash and I said, okay, we need to get out of here. And he like laughed and I was like, I'm serious. We need to get out of here. Are you down? And he was like, maybe I have to think about it. Of course. I'd think about it also. It's not an easy decision. You're leaving all your friends. You're changing your entire future. You're impacting your entire rest of your life. It's not an easy decision. And we're talking.
But at the same time, it's like, yeah, we can try this. And if it fails, we can just get back to it.
Yeah.
You're still young, right?
It's a huge decision. At the same time, it was pretty straightforward.
I think it was too easy for you.
It was.
Maybe for your friends, maybe it wasn't. But I'm sure that for you, it was like, yeah, somebody was pushing you to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I made the decision in a week. I was like, we're out. And
to start working full time on the company, on Nova Echo.
Because I was already doing it. I was already working full time. I was just in school and getting screamed at by my teachers. And they'd be like, shut your computer. So I'd close it. They'd look away. I open it again and I keep working. And it's like, I don't want to deal with that shit.
Yeah.
And then there's a kid over here who's like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing?
What did your mom say?
So I go home and I'm like, my mom's kind of been pushing me to do homeschooling since I was young.
All right.
I never wanted to because I always wanted to have that social connection with other kids. And I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad I went
Your
to high
mom
school.
is a smart girl, you know.
She's
Yeah.
amazing.
Most people don't have the resources to start a business. They don't have the money. And some people don't even have the backup, you know, from their parents. Some parents don't want their kids to drop out of school or do something like that. I think that regardless of what people say or do, it's up to you to actually make things happen and not wait for any approval. I think that if you have that approval in your head and you really believe in yourself and you want to make something happen, you just go for it, regardless of what people say. What do you think? Do you agree with that? Or if your mom said like, no, don't do that, what would you do?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, I would sell her on letting me do it.
So you wouldn't take a no for an answer.
I never take no for an answer. Two, if really it was a no and I couldn't do it, and at 15, you need to have a loophole. And I didn't do FLVS. I didn't do homeschooling. I want to just be
to get out of school.
Yeah, because you're not allowed to leave till you're 16 technically. But I didn't want to have anything. So I had, after I left, no tests, no check-ins, no teachers, no principal, no grades, nothing. Except for me, my own education, my work, books, YouTube. That's what I wanted. So anyway, if she really said no, and it was an absolutely no, then I would have just done the same thing and been successful anyways. And I would have done school with it.
Just prove her wrong, right?
Yeah. And eventually she would have said yes. Because once there's always a threshold to where they cannot say no anymore.
Yeah.
And for my grandparents, I asked my grandma, when could I drop out of school? This was before, and this was like a joke because I wasn't even thinking about it yet. She was like, I was like, how about if I make $4 million? She was like, okay. So I was like, okay, now I have a goal. Now before I'm 18, I have to make $4 million so I can drop out. So there's always something. There's no parent that's going to say, if you make $4 million in the next year, you can't drop out of school. There has to be a threshold. So anyway, I would have found that and I would have completed it anyways. So it wouldn't have changed anything. It would have made it harder and slower, but it still would have happened. But I'm glad I was able to leave. So I left. I keep going. I go. And then in December, that company that I'm working for kind of starts falling down. So they're not like falling down, but they weren't going where I wanted them to. So I leave. I start my own thing. And I end up recruiting a team. I actually find this guy at that same gym I met Mark at in the same sauna. Me and some other guy are talking because, again, I go in there and I can just introduce myself because now I'm charismatic because I've been to so many networking events. And I say, hey, how you doing? What do you do? We talk. Then I ask this guy over here, some random Dominican guy, he's a young guy. I'm like, hey, what do you do? He said, oh, I do metal sales, but I'm looking to get into tech sales. I'm like, okay, let's talk. I have an AI company. He was like, cool, let's do it. So I grab his Instagram. We talk. I meet up with him again. And now he's a sales associate on our team full time. And he's doing really good. He's working hard. Then I go to this different gym. I don't even want to go to the gym that day, but not because it's a community gym. I don't even want to go there. But Nash is like, Joey, come on. A bunch of our friends are here. Like our friends are into business. Come on. Okay, fine.
It was more like a gathering.
Yeah. It was like, we're all just kind of hanging out at the gym, you know? I was like, fine, whatever. So I go and a bunch of them start asking me about the affiliate program that I'm going to launch for Nova Echo. And so I'm explaining to them, okay, you have tier 1, tier 2. I'm explaining everything. And then this guy comes over, this older guy comes over and he's working out. He looks great. He comes over and he's like, what is this? And so my friends kind of move to the side and he's looking at me and I start pitching him. I'm like, okay, well, it's an AI that makes, you know the pitch. And so I pitch him and he's like, this is insane. The affiliate program is awesome. I want to be an affiliate. I'm like, okay. Guy that's old has not wanted to be an affiliate for me before. That's great. This is really cool. And so, and right, he's about 55. I'm pretty sure he's 55. He's in his 50s. And
so the gym, it's like a nice place also to kind of find people, right? Find connections.
I met Sergio at a gym.
Yeah.
I met Mark at a gym. I met Hamley.
There's a reason for that. Most people think that a gym is just a place where you go and work out and then you leave. But if you go to the right places, to good gyms, you might find people that can take you to the levels that you don't even know that you can go. And usually people that you're not going to find going to a restaurant because, they're just like there to eat or some other places. I guess it's that the commitment that you're there. It shows that you care about yourself. And those are principles, that smart people like, that wealthy people appreciate too in others.
I agree 100%. And that's why when I made my first $250, I started a $200 a month gym membership, which I could not afford, and neither could my mom. But I did it because I knew I was going to meet people, and I ended up making enough money to pay for it because I knew I was going to make enough money.
Yeah.
And since then, I got my mom into the gym, my grandparents in the gym.
Awesome.
I got some girls I talked to in the gym. I got some of my friends in the gym. Everyone. I try to get everyone in the gym.
Well,
It's awesome.
the biggest company that I built is a fitness company. It's
Yeah.
a personal brand in the fitness space to almost more than 7 million followers right now,
Awesome.
between YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and others.
It helps with everything. There's nothing the gym doesn't improve in my life.
Yeah, for sure.
I meet all these people at the gym. Then Savannah, who is now my CFO, she's amazing as well. She ended up just booking a call with me through my YouTube channel a couple months back. And I help her out. I talk to her. And then we meet up in Miami. And we're chatting. We're talking business. And then she comes to Boca and she pitches me on being a CFO with Nova Echo. And so let's do it. So now she's part of the company. She's great. Nash is also part of the company. He was actually the first person I was working with because back when I first started it, no one believed that it was going to be good. Nobody, literally nobody. He was like, it sounds all right. Sergio was like, it sounds all right. And that's not attack on either of them because that's fine. Everybody. Yeah. And I was like, it's gonna. And then after a month or two, when I started getting more clients, I was like, Nash, I can't even handle this anymore. Can you come help me do fulfillment? Sure. I paid him. Cool. And he's still working with us today. He's an affiliate and he's doing fulfillment as well. So he's doing great too.
He's been with you since you started, right? You mentioned him
pretty
since
much.
You had the idea like around those times, right?
Yeah, because he was the first person that I found in school that had somewhat of a similar mentality. He wasn't focused on money or anything, but he was already kind of into the self-improvement space a little bit. And
so how do you identify a person that can be a good partner business-wise?
That's really a good question. The number one thing is integrity. Because if they don't do what they say they're going to do, or I don't trust them, I'm not going to do serious business with them anymore. And I'm not going to have them as a partner. Second thing is I want people who have the same mentality as me, where they're not just focused on money and they're also focused on other things and they want to just generally improve themselves. Because if your singular focus is money, that's a recipe for fucking me over for money. Yeah. And I don't want that. So if you care about money more than you care about our relationship, or more than you care about improving yourself as a person or your integrity or your word, no. Third thing is I like people that want to have fun on the journey. There's a lot. It's
all about the journey.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of old people who are like, all right, you know, they're in their suits and they're all stuck up and where's our million? Like I don't want that.
It's good that you know that when you're going, if you're going to pitch to investors or anything.
Oh, I know.
It's really important that you understand that there's plenty of money outside and you don't have to partner with people who are not aligned with your mentality. They're not aligned with your way of looking at the business, maybe the world or other things. You're really holistic. I can see, that you believe in like the power of the mental power and all that stuff. So if you partner with a person that gives you like $1 million, $10 million, and that person doesn't care about any of that, you will find issues dealing with him. So just know that there's plenty of money out there and you will always find, the right people when they are aligned with you.
And that's great advice for me and for everybody.
Yeah, 100%.
And I know people who have taken investors that were not right for them, and it ruins the company.
Same. I have friends, unfortunately, they went into bad relationships in their businesses and they struggle with that a lot. And for an entrepreneur, I think it's impossible to divide the entrepreneur from the person. It's like you are one person. There's not like me when I'm doing this and me when I'm not doing that. If you are really, I believe that if you're really a core entrepreneur, your life surrounds about the ideas that you have in your head and your connections and your network. Everything else is like a secondary.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of been an issue in some ways in my life, but it absolutely is true in my mind.
Being an entrepreneur is not fun most of the time. It's great, but most of the times it's a struggle. It's
Yes.
dealing with problems.
And I wanted to bring that up actually because there's so many people. Again, there's a whole narrative being pushed where everyone's like, okay, if you want a supercar, you have to do this. You have to work for 20 years and build this amazing business. If all you care about is a supercar, all power to you. Just get a good paying job without the stress, without the struggle,
100%.
with the stability. Make 8, 9, 10K a month and go get a car. Lease it 3, 4K max.
Yeah, like learn a high paying skill and then just work on a company that you can actually help them with that.
Right. Like if all I wanted was a nice car, I would not be a business owner because it's not fun.
The only people who want money and they don't give a fuck, what they need to do in order to have money is the people who never had it. You have never experienced what it's like to actually have the resources to do whatever the fuck you want. In my case, I come from a family that they always gave me everything. I always traveled the world, lived in different countries. Even when I was working for my family's company, I was living in different countries. Had money to do anything, had all the luxuries, girls, anything. And what happens when you have that is that most of the people that you meet, they don't really give a fuck about you. So having that concept and that perception of things, it's going to help you in the future understand that money is not the actual, end all be all, and it's not what you are seeking. What you're seeking is what money gives you, which is more security, more freedom to do things. But what you really want to hold on tight is to your family, to your friends, to actual good relationships. Because money is not going to, well, maybe, but it's really hard that money brings you strong, really meaningful relationships that really care about you. Because the initial thing that attracted them to you was the money. Exactly. It wasn't you.
And I want to touch on something real quick. I bought my car 2 months ago. It's an AMG. And I bought it for 3 reasons. One is, like you just said, I already knew I didn't really care about the money aspect so much. And I believe me, I care about money. I bought it. The number one reason was just to prove to myself for a fact that I didn't care about the car. And that might sound stupid, but
no, it sounds really, really right. Sounds perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's probably something that I shouldn't say because some people were like, oh, so much money. What? But it was worth every penny just to know that I really don't give a fuck about it. And it got towed like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And now I'm driving my mom's car. It's an Elantra and a Hyundai.
Are you concerned about that?
No, I'm just as happy in the, I don't care. I'm just as happy in the Elantra. But now I know that I'm happy in it because I was able to drive a more expensive car and it didn't fucking matter. And that was worth every penny. And I'm still getting the car back. It'll come back in 2 days.
Of course.
And I'm still happy to drive
And you will be getting new cars and better cars.
Of course.
But you understand that.
Now I know that I'm getting it just as a little bonus, not because it matters to me. The second thing was because it builds credibility and it's my brand. My brand, I want it to be high quality, speed, and luxury. Mm-hmm. That's who I am. I don't want it to be the cheap, viable Elantra. That's not me. I'm not the cheap, viable option.
Yeah.
So it does help with that aspect. And that is very important. And it does help with networking. And since I got the car, a lot of people have come up to me that don't give a fuck about me and that want to talk to me. Mm-hmm. And I've seen that. And I didn't see it before the car, actually. Because everyone's like, oh, yeah, he's doing business. He actually has money. When they saw the car.
Like visually, people get attracted by things.
Of course. And it's completely like my relationships have changed since then. The car itself has allowed me to meet some people that I never would have met before. And that is also worth the money. So now I know that the only reason that I want a nice car is because I get to meet people who have other nice cars.
The networking part.
Yeah. And knowing that was worth it. And I remember I said to Hamley, because I was talking to him about it before I got the car. Mm-hmm. He was like, what if it gets scratched or something? I said, I'm not going to give a fuck if it gets scratched. And he was like, oh, but maybe you will. And deep down, I knew I wouldn't, but I was like, what if I will? And now that I have it, I know I won't. And that's that security that I don't give a fuck. Yeah. I love that. That was worth it. So, and then the third reason is because of a little project that I'm going to be doing that you'll see very soon. That's exciting. That I'm going to be doing with the car.
But you're not stopping. You just keep doing things on top of the other things.
Of course. Always.
While you're building the more things.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot more to come soon.
You see yourself as a creator?
Yes. Entrepreneurs are creators.
I agree.
Business owners are not necessarily creators because you can buy a business and just run it. And people mix that word up a lot now through social media, but they're not the same thing.
I couldn't agree more. There's a principle that I live by pretty much when I'm talking, but also when I'm creating content. And it's the principle of making things simple. If you want people to understand your idea, you need to make it simple. It cannot be complex. If you're explaining your idea, your company right now to a person who don't understand anything, they don't know anything about AI, how can you explain it the simplest way that they can understand it too?
Yeah. So I've dialed in that pitch that I always make because I've talked to so many people at networking events and I've tried explaining it in so many different ways. And a lot of times when I explain it, I get the same objections. Oh yeah, I've heard about that, whatever. I still get it and I could still dial it in more, but it's an AI that sounds just like a human. People cannot tell the difference and it makes sales calls for outbound and takes inbound customer service calls for companies over the phone. That pitch, that little sentence, people seem to get it because I'm taking all the main points, like very general main points, and I'm putting it into one sentence.
Yeah.
And that seems to get the point across the best. But the main objections I hear are two things. One, oh yeah, I can only be on one call at a time though. I'll just hire a person. No. And it's not even a dialer. It's the next level. You have a person, a dialer, Nova Echo. A dialer can do 6 calls. It hangs up on everyone that doesn't pick up and talks to one. Or the person talks to one. This can be on thousands of calls simultaneously at the exact same time. And it can talk to every single person at the same time through the same phone number, but have different conversations with them all.
Wow.
So that's one thing. The second thing is, oh yeah, I got a call 20 years ago from this thing. I don't like it. I get calls all the time. They get calls from the bot that says, hi, I'm here to sell you insurance. Like, no.
It sounds robotic.
It is a robot. It's not an artificial intelligence. The difference is AI using LLMs can take information and create an intelligent response and then send it back. A robot is binary, very binary. So you ask it a specific question, it will have an exact answer, but it can't create an answer and it can't understand a question that's not already in its database.
Do I have to give it all my information about my company? How do I give it my information? Like, do I need, I don't know, documents from my company? Like, how do you load this into the actual AI?
So it's just text. So we just copy paste text. It's all through prompting. Very simple. And yes, you do need documents at your company so we have a knowledge base if you want it to be more accurate. Otherwise, you don't need it because it will just create an answer that looks good for your company. If it doesn't know your prices and somebody asks, how much do you charge? That's going to say, oh, well, we have a very competitive pricing model that, or we'll say, oh yeah, well, we do charge more, but we have the highest quality. It'll make something that sounds good for your brands.
Exactly.
And it creates that,
wow.
Even if you don't prompt it. So it will always follow its end mission. If its end mission, and you can choose its end mission, if its end mission is to book a call or to sell a product, it's going to do everything it can to make that product sound amazing.
So that's not something that you program, that it's the actual AI.
But it's the AI. And so even if it doesn't have an answer and you didn't give it any information on something, excuse me, it will still use the information it already has to create something that looks good for your brand. And it does that automatically. And so you can have it just run and call people without it having all the information, and it will do a good job. Wow. And back to what you said about the simplicity, that is one of the most important things. And the best way, besides a one-liner, to show how simple something, or to show what something is simply, is with a demo. And that's why I always have my phone with a number that I can call. And whenever somebody says, oh, it's a robot, I've heard it before, I say, okay, here. They talk to it. They're like, wait, what the fuck? This isn't a robot. I'm like, yeah, I know. I told you. You're like, no, but it's not. I'm like, I know. And they're like, yeah, but
it's crazy, right?
This is crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
Well, you actually are talking about one of the principles that I believe are the most important ones, which is credibility. Like, an idea needs to be credible in order to sell.
Yeah.
It's not about talking about the idea. It's not about saying how great it is and showing the analytics and all that. Yeah, that may be good for some people, like maybe me. I'm very analytic driven. It's about showing how it works. like try it before you buy a thing, right? That's what you do with with your clients. You put into the test. And once people experience using whatever your offer is, in your case, the AI, it's going to sell itself.
Absolutely. I mean, when you do a live demo and it performs well, why wouldn't they try it? It makes no sense. That's definitely a way to make it super simple. And also, being able to translate that is very important. And we talked about this before, but I know that there is a very common thing that people think of, and it's the integrator and the visionary duo. And a lot of the great companies had this. They had the visionary who was a salesperson, a marketer. They understood how to get the message out. And then they had the integrator who was the operations guy, the techie, the one that knew how to build the system.
What are you?
Great question. So there was a test online, and most of these tests are BS, but they're a decent way, I guess, of measuring what side you're on. And it said, I think 98% of people were one or the other. They're an integrator or a visionary. There's more visionaries than integrators, but pretty similar. I scored both. So I was equal on the visionary and integrator scale.
Interesting.
And I think that's been crucial in building this company at the beginning by myself, because I'm very technical. I love operations. I love building systems. And I use a lot of jargon when I do that. And I talk in, the smart lingo with other people. But then when I'm selling, I'm also good at selling and good at marketing. And when I do that, I make it simple. And that's so important. And there's a different language there. So the integrator has a language. The visionary has a language. The visionary's language is simple, straightforward, and persuasive. And the integrator's language is smart, techie, and jargonful. And it's other integrators understand it, but normal people don't. And so
your clients won't understand.
And clients don't. Definitely not. Most don't. And at least not the head of the company.
Yeah. Not to say that they're not smart. It's just they don't have the previous knowledge or whatever you have.
Albert Einstein didn't speak Spanish. Doesn't mean he's not smart.
Exactly.
It's a different language. It's just, that's it. So anyway, being able to translate that has been crucial. And you can do it with two people, but when you can do it yourself, and you can learn it. I'm not saying that you're born one or the other. I think I just learned both skills. But naturally, you like one more or the other. I kind of like them both equally, which is awesome. Maybe that is something that you have from the beginning. I don't know. But you can still learn the other. And being able to translate the jargon and understand the jargon, but then translate it to simple words that everyone can understand is crucial when you're doing marketing and sales.
Well, those are the two things that I think every company needs in order to be successful. Most people think that is the idea. No, your idea needs to be the greatest idea. It needs to be unique. Only like you have that idea. What you really need in order to sell something, even if it's not the greatest idea, or even if it's an idea that it was previously, made, and you're just like remaking it in your way, it's having good marketing and sales. Marketing and sales, some people like debate which one is more important. I think one needs the other. You can be a good salesperson, but if you're not reaching people, who are you selling it to? Or you can reach a lot of people, but if you don't know how to sell, you're gonna waste all that people, all those eyes.
I agree. And how I think about it is, if you have the best product, your product is amazing, then you don't even need marketing or sales. It helps a lot, and I'll explain that in a second. It helps a lot. Tesla, for example, for a long time, they didn't have marketing or sales, sold like crazy because their product was that damn good.
But I think they did.
With the marketing?
Yeah. Sometimes companies are the ones promoting the business. Sometimes it's the actual the customer promoting the business. Either way, it's marketing and it's sales.
That's true.
But it's done in a way that people don't understand. That's what I call selling without selling. There are several ways of selling without selling, or selling to a person without them understanding how they bought it. Sometimes you might see an ad or you might see something on social media and you didn't buy it. And you see it again and you didn't buy it. But then you needed that thing, and your brain instantly went, oh, let me search for that thing that I keep seeing on the ads or something. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
And maybe those videos that you saw weren't to sell. They were just to be in front of you. It's what's called awareness campaigns. So when you need it, you know what you're going to be looking for, what you're going to search for.
I think you're right that no matter what, you do need marketing because, and Apple's a great example because Androids, as much as I really, really hate to admit it, do have more features. But
Yeah.
Apple they've been so good with their marketing and sales that it doesn't matter. Yeah. And also credibility is built so much by just people repeatedly seeing your brand.
100%.
And that's why I've been doing organic content, because when people just scroll and they see Nova Echo, the name, the logo, my face, they start to trust me more, which they should, because they know me more as a human being, which is perfectly reasonable. It makes sense. And a lot of people, especially from my YouTube, I had a whole thing on YouTube. So people would watch tens and tens of my videos, and they'd book a call with me, and I was kind of already their friend, even if I didn't know them yet, because they knew me so well through my videos.
Wow.
And that builds a lot of trust. Again, as it should, and builds a lot of credibility for a company. So everybody should be doing organic content.
I love that.
It builds that.
Well, I built more than 10 million followers for my companies and other companies. And people always say, oh, but did you do it through ads? Like, do you run ads and stuff like that? I've never run an ad for any of these brands. It was all organic, all about structuring, right? Good content, being consistent with it. But in your case, what do you think it's best? Organic content, organic growth, or paid growth,
Organic.
paid ads? Okay, that was fast.
Yeah, like no question. Well, a lot of people try to find the difference, but it's so, would you rather pay for 1 million views or get 1 million views with an hour of work after you've built up skills?
One takes more time than the other. I'll say that.
Of course. And it also pays off a lot more, just like everything else in life.
And what happens with organic content, at least on social media, on the internet, is that, and this is almost like building a database of people who will want to know more about you as long as you keep doing that. That's another conversation, changing companies and keeping the same accounts. Don't do that, guys. Like, don't do that. If you started something and you're now starting something different, build another account.
Of course.
Don't waste your time.
Right. Unless it's so similar. With the chatbots to the voice AI, I kept the same account.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's so similar.
For sure.
But in general, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about, I've worked with people who they were something before. They were doing, for example, they were doing something entirely different to this thing that they want to do now, another industry even. And they want to start doing it on this account to sell a new thing. It's impossible because the algorithm, well, not impossible, but it's really hard because the algorithm that you have is already built for that specific space. People were following you because you were the person who knew about plants. Now you want to talk about cars. Most likely these people, the people that you had, they're not going to care about cars. Some will, but most of them were following you because of the plants, because what you were doing before. So if you want to start something new, just start a new account, build a new algorithm, and it's going to be way faster and better to grow.
Yeah, that's why I don't like buying accounts. A lot of people do that, but
they don't know this.
Yeah, it doesn't get you anywhere.
We already talked about this, but I want to touch again on that. And it's about creating an emotion. Is it important to sell or not? Most people struggle thinking about, how can I create content on social media that triggers an emotion? How do you trigger emotion when it comes to sales without talking about just like what the company does and all that? How do you make them excited?
Yeah, that's great. And so B2B sales, you definitely need emotion, but you also need a lot of logic. B2C is usually just purely emotion. So if you're selling B2C,
100%.
This is 100% what you need to do. So emotion is all about storytelling. You need to be able to tell a story. Actually, it's about two things. One is storytelling, and the second is charisma. I never had charisma because you're not born with charisma. And through meeting Sergio and through other things that I did, I was able to build charisma for myself. And without charisma, you're not going to be a good salesperson. Sales is inherently building emotion in somebody else that makes them want your product or service. And that is done through charisma. Charisma is the act of sending an emotion from yourself to somebody else through words. That's what I think. So I did that in a couple ways. And that's the most important thing, I think. Before you even start storytelling, if you storytell and you don't have charisma, it's not going to even matter. So the first thing to do to build charisma is exposure therapy. And that is going out and just doing stuff. So putting yourself in uncomfortable positions to build that charisma, because charisma is just being good at social situations, right? Generally. So I went to networking events. I've been to probably close to 100 or so. I don't even know, but a
Wow.
lot. And I talked to a lot of people, or random people who had more experience than me, people who are older than me. And that put me in a situation where I went from, hi, how you doing? To, hey, how you doing? You know, it's a
For
completely
sure.
different tone. And you do that through just repeatedly doing it over and over and being uncomfortable, and then watching other people who have already done it, do it, and following them. That's why I was watching Sergio, and I've watched many other people who are also very charismatic.
Putting yourself on uncomfortable situations, it's what people usually don't do. But you're saying that if they do that, it's going to become easier and easier every time, right? It's like repetition, it's the name of the game. And also, not just repetition, but also understanding that it's not going to be fun at first. You're not going to enjoy it initially. Once you surpass that kind of moment of being uncomfortable and not wanting to say anything, then you're like on another phase, right?
Yeah.
It changes
absolutely.
your life.
And people hate that. They hate it because first there's a wall. They try to go to the left of the wall. 10 tips to getting a girlfriend, right of the wall. How do I talk to people in networking events? They try to go under. I don't even have to talk to people. I'll just hire someone to talk to people. No, you have to just go through the wall and fucking talk to people. That's it. And that was the only thing that helped me, because I watched the YouTube videos. I read books on how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, it helped a little, but the only thing that helped really was doing it. And so I went to networking events. I ended up just talking to random people on the street. Me and my friend Nash, actually, in January, we started this challenge where, because whenever we would go up and talk to a girl, both of us would start getting, the fast heartbeat. We get a little nervous. Your words like getting a little slurred. You go fight or flight, whatever. A lot of guys get that. I went over to Nash again, and this is after we dropped that. And I'm like, hey, since we have the whole day to do stuff, let's go to the places, and let's talk to one girl each minimum every day. Get their Instagram, get their number.
One girl each every day
Minimum.
to talk about what? Just to talk?
Just
hello?
say, hey, compliment them, get some kind of contact info. Nice and simple.
At 15,
Yeah. No, I was 16.
16?
Oh, no, I was 15 when we started, and then I was 16. Yeah.
Now you just have like a book of numbers. Phone numbers.
Instagram, yeah, but whatever. But it wasn't, and it didn't even matter if they gave it to us. If we got rejected, that counted, because it wasn't a game of, we didn't want to try to
Getting girls.
Yeah, it's not a game of getting, because I don't care, and it's not a game of trying to shy away from getting rejected. It's like, we're trying to get rejected. We don't actually care at all what the result is. We're just trying to do the input.
Yeah.
And so we would do it. One random girl, go up, hey, compliment them, get some kind of contact info. At the beginning, just constant rejection. It was terrible, because I walk out, and I'm like, hi, what's
awkward.
Like, yeah, it's awkward, it's whatever. But then after just a couple weeks, so this is 14, 20 girls, something like that, then it's like nice and casual and normal and chill and charismatic. That's where I'm going with all this. Anyway, so we talked.
I love that. With that, you're pretty much showing that an idea doesn't have to be perfect initially. It's usually not going to be even good at first. It's about putting yourself out there, doing it. And then with time, the idea evolved, right, into something better and better and better. You guys, it wasn't working as maybe you guys wanted it to initially, but just by doing more and more of that, it became better. And you became better by doing it, by acting on it every single day, right?
Precisely. And actually, I heard this quote. I don't know who made it, but it goes something like, entrepreneurs jump off the cliff and then build a plane on the way down. I love that. I love that. I don't know if that was exactly right or who made it, but I love it.
How would you describe that, actually?
I mean, it's just a perfect representation of how I live my life. And how a lot of people I know live their life. A lot of people like to do research, which is another word for procrastination. And they just, okay, how do I make the perfect pitch? What do I say to a girl? What do I say at a networking event? Go up, talk to 20 girls. I dialed in my pitch, just like I dialed in my pitch for talking to business people. It's the same thing. It's very similar. Whatever. You go up, I said something. Okay, that didn't work. Let me say it again to one other girl. It didn't work twice. Probably not the right thing. Next one. Let me change up a word. Let me change up my tone. Let me change up my hand movement, whatever. And you dial it in. And that's everything in life.
So not research, but what?
Action. Because action is research. It's just firsthand research. instead of secondhand research, which doesn't even apply to you because it's going to be a different situation. And research is definitely important in some aspects of life, but 90% of things you're going to do, especially as an entrepreneur, is just do it and figure it out on the way. And like I was saying before, these corporate people do not like to hear that, which is why I typically do not like to work with them, because I don't like the mentality of let's sit here for 3 months and find out exactly what's optimal and then do it. No, we can find out what's optimal in a week of nonstop doing it. So anyway, we did that. Me and Ash have been doing it. We don't do it anymore. But if I want to, I'll just do it. But it's not something where we do it every single day, like a challenge anymore. But it's not a challenge anymore. It's just easy, and it doesn't mean anything to me anymore. Which is not to say,
but it helped you
bad.
guys use it in your company.
Yeah, it helped me with sales. It helped me with building charisma, which makes me a better storyteller. It helps me with talking to people. It helps me with going up to women and girls that I'm not interested in that way at all, but for business relationships, or friends. So yeah, and also if I genuinely am interested in a girl, it's not hard to go talk to them. And like at a party or whatever, that's easy for everybody. Well, not everybody, but it's definitely easy to just go up to a girl at a party or whatever. But it's different when it's on the street. Not like creepy way, but like it's on the street and they're just having lunch or something. And you go up like nicely, and you just talk to them.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's nothing creepy about that. And people that think that's creepy there's ways to do it creepy.
Yeah.
But people that think talking to random people on the street in general is creepy, that's just modern bullshit. Like,
so that's exactly what your company avoids. People making mistakes when talking to other people.
Yeah, pretty much.
Your company pretty much is solving that issue.
Yeah, so people don't have to go through that for that aspect. In general, everyone should go through that in life.
Yeah, no. But for a company that you want to optimize the everything, right?
Of course.
Input, output, everything. It's perfect for that. Perfect.
Because there's a way to get charisma, artificial charisma, which is still charisma.
Yeah.
Without having to go through that, and that's with AI. But tying back into what we were talking about before, so giving emotion is all about charisma. How do you build charisma? You do stuff. Same thing when I was talking on stages. I used to be scared when I was in like 8th grade, just singing, because we do like songs in my school and stuff.
Yeah.
Singing to like the parents and other kids in the school. I'd get up, I'd be like, I'd like hide.
You were that kid.
Yeah, I was that kid. But like everyone was that kid that I knew. I don't know. It's just like everyone was. But yes, especially me, for sure. But then when I got out of that and I started taking it into my own hands and I started going on my own stages that I got on myself, that's when I was like, okay, cool. At Fun Launch Live, there was 2,000 people there. And that was the biggest stage I've ever talked on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, especially in person. But yeah, by far. And I was excited. Like I was nervous, but I was also really excited. And it was...
You couldn't tell.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell.
I was able to hide it well. But I was. But actually, they told us, go decide your order. And I was like, I'm going first. Because
it's always good, right?
Yeah, because I was like...
Bro, and it was so fun because you were so impactful. And then the next guys were like so shy and low energy. And like you made them all look terrible. Like their ideas looked bad just because of the way you presented yours.
Yeah.
It was almost like a competition.
I appreciate that. And yeah, it absolutely was. And that's why I wanted to go first. That way I could fucking kill it before everyone got bored. Because if I'm the last guy and they just watch 3 boring presentations, So, but yeah, I was nervous for sure. But now, like when I was at New York Tech Week and I got on 2 stages, they were small for sure. They were like 30, 40 people. But that
was nothing for you.
It was pure excitement. There wasn't even nervousness. 2 years ago, I would have been like crazy. So it's all just exposure therapy. That's what I call it. And it's completely different than the normal therapy of...
So emotion, it's a huge part.
Emotion's a huge part. And the way to be able to transfer emotion is by having charisma. And having charisma is just through doing things in social situations over and over. Now, that's the first thing. Second thing, and that's just learned through experience. You cannot look up how to get charisma. All the channels that say that are bullshit. The next one is storytelling. Storytelling is a skill that you do learn partly from research because you have to follow what other people do because there is a formula for it. And the second
100%.
thing is then just practicing. So I would say definitely start with research for that, but do not do it forever. And then take something you learned, go tell the story to somebody. I don't care what it is. It could be your story on your way home from work, but tell it in a way. Okay, so here's what happened.
So true.
I get out of the car. my dog is sitting right there. I look to my, like, just make it fucking captivating.
For sure.
That's it. And it's just the way you talk. And you need charisma to talk like that.
It's almost like people put themselves in the story as you're telling the story. And the best thing in today's world is that you can do it with content, with videos, with pictures, even painting the picture, telling the story is definitely, to me, I think the best way to sell something in today's world.
I definitely think that stories is the number one way to sell anything, and it always has been. But what social media allows you to do is it allows you to tell a personal story that's one-on-one or feels one-on-one, but to millions and millions of people at the same time and at scale. So that's super powerful, and it's something that we never had access to before outside of a newspaper, really. But that's just words. When you see someone face to face and you hear them talking, that's completely different and allows for that charisma to actually flow through the phone, which is absolutely possible.
So is your company going to transition into also like video calls in the future?
Possibly. We want to do all channels.
I'm sure you're going to do everything. But always remember this, Joey, that whatever you're doing, your company, relationships, anything, it's about the journey. I can say this enough to people, especially young people, because when I was younger, I lived thinking like, yeah, I want to make this, I want to make that, I want to go here, I want to go there. And when you are doing it, you kind of are too focused on the end goal or the next thing, and you're not thinking about where you are. Last time I was actually in New York, I was with my family, and I stopped everybody. We were walking close to the memorial where the Twin Towers were. And I was like, okay, everybody stop right here. Let's just look around. Look at where we are. We're together. We're here. Let's enjoy this moment. Let's enjoy the journey. Yeah, we were planning on coming to New York and having some fun, eating in nice restaurants. But we're here. We're just like walking, going, eating, going, doing. It's important to understand and enjoy the process. So always enjoy the process, live what you are doing, and don't get so caught up in the next thing, on the next goal. It's always good. It's always important, imperative to have that. But always also enjoy what you're doing, because the key in life is not the goal, it's the destination. I know it sounds like kind of like cliche or whatever, but it is true. Just think about it. You're going to die eventually, maybe in 200 years or something with technology. But even if it's 1,000 years that you're going to live, it's about those 1,000 years. It wasn't about the day you died. It wasn't about the day you were born. It wasn't about your birthdays. It was the journey of living. So always enjoy the time, enjoy your friends, enjoy what you're doing. And when the day comes, you're going to say, okay, I enjoyed living. It was good.
I think that is absolutely perfect. And it's exactly what I believe, because people that are focused all on the output, all on the destination, the goal, or having fun or enjoying, those people usually end up pretty sad and depressed. And all the people that are focused all on the work and the grind and the journey, and they just take an appreciation for everything in life, all the small little things, and they don't care what the end goal really is, those people usually end up a lot more happy and fulfilled.
You say it because you feel it like that.
Absolutely.
It's your experience.
Because I was 2.5 years ago, I was doing everything for, okay, where's my next dopamine hit? What garbage food can I eat? What video game can I get a quick hit on? Whatever. But when I started just appreciating every little thing in life, and I started appreciating the journey, everything changed. And I genuinely do. I love every single part of building the business. Every single time that it's sad, happy, every time that I'm angry, I love it all. Embarrassed. I've experienced everything.
You're embracing everything.
All of it. And I love it. And if you can't say, I'm going to work on this and do input, and I'm going to just focus on the input for years or decades, and I don't care what the output is, you're never going to get a good output. It's never actually going to be anything that's meaningful to you. And that's why I bought the car. And that's why when I was 14, I said, I'm going to do this no matter what, whether I make money or not. And that's why when I was making videos, I said, I don't care how many views I get, I'm going to keep putting them out. And that's why I was able to be successful. I enjoy the journey. I enjoy the grind. I enjoy the sadness and the happiness and the anger and the embarrassment. I enjoy all of it. And it's all great. It's not all fun, but fun leads to depression usually.
Well, let me tell you something. You are already successful in my eyes because of that. Now, everything in the future is going to be extra and it's going to be built up, but you are already successful because of the way that you're thinking about life. So, Joey, I can't wait to see where you'll be in the future. I know you're going to be great. I have zero doubts about it. If you want to follow Joey, where can they follow you and your company?
So we're on Instagram. My Instagram is Joey_Seeman, Seeman. The company Instagram is Nova Echo AI. And we're also on YouTube under Nova Echo.
Amazing. Well, thanks for coming today, man.
And thank you.
He's definitely going to be here more time.
Absolutely.